Former ICE Director John Sandweg, who joins us now. John, impressions on the family so quickly being taken into ICE custody, 5 children and the wife.
Yeah, an interesting development, Connell. So what's going on here is that we know Soliman came into the United States on a B-1, B-2 visa. At some point, he made an asylum claim. As you and I have talked about extensively, you have these backlogs in the immigration courts. So he's allowed to remain in the country while he's waiting for that asylum hearing. Obviously, now, after this horrific attack, it appears that the secretary has directed that ICE take his family into custody. The family almost certainly are outside of their immigration status, Connell. Typically, they would either be what are called derivatives or waiting for they're on the father's asylum application, meaning if he gets asylum, the family members will get asylum. It's possible that they have their own asylum application, but nevertheless, ICE does have the legal authority to take them into custody and now seek to detain them on immigration violations.
All right. You heard a moment ago in Nancy's report from Secretary Noem. We have one more clip from what she had to say. Here's the Secretary.
Mohamed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific attack, if they had any knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it. I am continuing to pray for the victims of this attack.
Is it possible that the authorities know about some sort of support or knowledge? But then again, as you said, the immigration violations would be enough to bring them in, right?
Yeah, from what she said they're in ICE custody. So what that tells me at this point is they don't have probable cause to charge them with a crime. So they could arrest them on criminal grounds if they had probable cause to believe they committed some sort of criminal offense. I think what's going on here, Connell, is they don't have that evidence at this point, but they also want to send a message and they don't want them at large. So they took them into immigration custody. Now, this creates an unusual tension because immigration detention, you got to move forward on the deportation case. Of course, we want these people in the United States, if only because they're witnesses against Soliman or at least sources of information about his activities in the lead up to this attack. But for the moment, Connell, the fact that they were taken into ICE custody tells me that they don't yet have enough evidence to charge them with criminal offenses. They're looking for a way to detain them, so they've taken them in on the immigration violations for now.
Okay. Anything missed here that could have been done better in the last few years? On the tablet, we have the timeline of the suspect, which now includes his family's also in custody. You look at 2 dates in August of 2022 is when the entrance was made, tourist visas. So, all right, that's on the up and up, right? That's legal until here in March when it expires. What type of job are we doing in terms of expired visas? Is that a bigger problem that we should be thinking about and looking at more broadly than just this case?
I don't think we should look at it based on how you became an undocumented immigrant, right? 40%, there's no really good data on this, Connell, but most estimates say 40% of the undocumented population of the 12 million who came into this country entered on a visa and overstayed the visa. Typically in immigration, we're a little less concerned with that population because they were vetted. They came in, they submitted their biometrics, they applied for a visa, we put them through a background check, they passed muster, we gave them a visa, unlike the population that crosses the border that we don't know anything about. But what scares me, Connell, is this. I do worry that as we continue to put pressure on ICE to ramp up the volume of deportations, that we kind of indirectly or unintentionally push the agents away from looking for those individuals who are here that pose a threat. And so we'll see in the coming days, were there any signs we missed that this guy had become radicalized or held these extremist views? That'll be the really big concern. And then I think, of course, Connell, the secondary question is just from an immigration perspective, a guy who's living in Kuwait, who's Egyptian, who's bringing his entire family, how does he get a tourist visa? Typically, a case like I'm kind of surprised just because this is the kind of guy who's a threat to overstay, not necessarily a threat to commit terrorist attacks. But again, these will be the questions I think everyone's going to be looking at hard. Did we miss anything either before we gave him the visa or after he entered the United States?
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.